This town is your town. This town is my town. This town was made for you and me, not PNZ. Well, good evening, everybody. This is being recorded in time for the public hearing. The public hearing will be at 7 p.m. at the Pearson Band Room, if you can make it, on Tuesday, September 20th. You should get there and express your views about the new, totally rewritten PNZ regulations that include many changes, since it's totally rewritten, for everybody in town. So no matter where you live in Winchester, the city of Winston, or Highland Lake, or anywhere else in the area, and you have an interest in our PNZ regulations, you should eat your dinner rapidly and get down to the Pearson Middle School. Go into the band room and get a chair just in case it gets filled up pretty easy and you don't want to have to stand for a few hours. If there are too many people, of course, they'll have to move the venue to another room to accommodate the people, because that's the law. Nobody knows how many are going to show up, but we do know that about 200 plus have signed the petition that will be presented on or before the meeting to the PNZ Commission. The main issue that everybody signed a petition for, there are many issues changing in this totally rewritten PNZ regulations, first one in many years, will be the removal of Section 10.6 that helped all of the non-conforming property owners throughout the area that pay and have properties that they want to use from day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year, generation to generation. If you have time, as soon as you finish dinner, or even while you're having dinner, get out your cell phones. Don't eat too rapidly. We don't want you getting sick like Hillary Clinton here. You've got to get down to this public hearing and bring as many friends, relatives, neighbors, etc. as you can, especially if they are property owners or other members of their family are property owners, or future members of their family will be property owners, because this stuff is going to last for a long time. And everybody will be affected by it one way or the other. The few will be affected by it in a positive way. But many, and I'm sure it's the most, that have non-conforming properties or are in business, industrial, commercial, and other areas in town may not be affected so positively. They may be affected very negatively. And this is not a good time economically to have property devaluations, tax increases, and the ability to do less and less and less with your property every time there is a new rewrite of the PNZ regulations. Remember, last week I sang you a song. It was an ode to Woody, ode number 2. And even though my voice wasn't at its best, I pointed out This town was made for you and me, not P and Z. So we have to speak up. We have to let everybody know what these elected and appointed town leaders are trying to do to the town, and affect it as much as we can before the law is written once these P&Z regulations are approved. Now, as promised, on Monday night, September 12th at 7 p.m., there was a regular P&Z meeting. And at that meeting, an application was submitted to the town by Michael Ham, former vice chair of the good old days planning and zoning, when Tony Canavo was involved in the EDC and planning and zoning, and inland wetlands are trying to do their best to help people use their property and get more advantageous, recurring, grandless growth in the town. I used to say profitable, but I don't anymore, because profitable is a dirty word in Winsted. So, according to the rules and laws, Mr. Ham was not allowed to speak at the meeting or present the application. That was presented to the town hall, supported by about 200, a little less than 200 signatures that Mike was trying to represent by submitting this application. And the application basically said, let's put the wording of section 10.6 that was removed from the existing regulations on July 22nd, 2016, into these new regulations, so that we will be back where we stood before, in a very advantageous position for the non-conforming properties and their owners and future owners and the next generation of owners that want to do things in a slow evolutionary manner, as I did with my properties and other people have done with theirs over many years, to improve them and increase their tax value and their entertainment value and their living value. This is all good stuff for everybody. This is a win-win-win-win-win situation. Removing section 10.6 without a very responsible replacement for it that will allow the same thing would be very damaging, unless it is replaced by wording that is very, 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 very close to the same as the section 10.6 that was removed on July 22nd, 2016, to the detriment of many, probably about 80% of the non-conforming property owners in the town, city, and lakes. That's not good. That should get you excited. So make those calls to anybody you know that may be interested in coming to this public hearing, and especially those who want to speak. At the meeting you will hear tonight, there was a meeting on the 12th, which was Monday, last Monday, a regular P&Z meeting. A couple residents did get up and speak during public hearing, and that was appreciated. But anyway, you will hear tonight the acceptance of the application by the P&Z board members without any comment from anybody, because that's the law. So Mike and I didn't even bother to attend the meeting. We decided we would listen to it later. Well, they did accept the application, and they set a public hearing date, as we expected they would, for October 24th, 2016. So if we go this Tuesday night to this public hearing for all the regulations, the total regulations, we'll be able to get our word in. If they accept our wording and they accept our desires, then we probably won't know that the night of the public hearing. That'll take another probably regular meeting for that. Then we'll be happy. There'll be other issues that come up from other people in the town, city, and lakes. I don't know what they might be. We haven't got much response from them over the last couple months, as I mentioned in my last program. So anything can happen there. Although at the meeting on Monday, we did have one man and his wife get up. They weren't happy with the gas station going up on Route 44, having entrances and exits into residential property. But that has been approved, and that will happen. But they did get to say their word, a little too late, perhaps. Probably should have done that before and approved the proposal by the gas station owners. I think the name of it is Henny Penny. It will compete with Cumberland Farms to some extent. We don't know how much yet. But it will add some advantageous recurring revenue to the grand list. I took a rough estimate at probably about $30,000 a year. That ain't bad. There's some taxes probably being paid on the land now, but they will be much smaller than that once this is complete. Another fellow got up and spoke for he and his wife that lived on the lake, and he was concerned about the nature of sheds on the lake, which a lot of people on the lake are concerned about, maybe out throughout town too in Winchester, I don't know. That's what I call bicycle shedding. They'll spend a lot of time, as you'll hear tonight, talking about the sheds and trying to please the people who have the sheds, because that's easy for them to give up. They only occupy a small amount of land. They're very small, and they're not too concerned about them. What they want to do is stop the major developments in their own backyard. They don't want any major developments in their own backyard, which is most everywhere, because somebody from every area of town, one way or another, is on the planning and zoning or ZBA commissions. And of course, that hurts us bad, as it has in the past. Now, I want to tell you that time to plan for things is way in advance, because as I say on all my programs, it takes 15 or 20 years to get anything done, according to my mentor, Tony Mishakowski, 20-year representative from Torrington, Connecticut, a conservative Democrat who always voted conservatively. He told me it takes 15, 20 years, Brian, to get anything done in government. Anything. So we're in for a long haul here. And when we miss opportunities like we missed before the 2008 crash, that hurts. That costs us 15 to 20 years. I have trouble getting that across to people, especially people who don't understand finance. So had we speeded up all those developments and not tried to kill them, many residents of the town did, they slowed them down and slowed them down and slowed them down in the approval process. And they all did finally get their approvals, and some of the pushback from the town residents did some good. But it did a great deal of harm, because we had the crash of 2008. We're now 2016 and we haven't recovered from it. Interest rates are still low. Some people say that's good. We can borrow money now. My view is that's not good, because you have to pay it all back, even at lower interest rates. But that's what people want to do, and they probably will end up doing that. We'll have bond issues. We'll borrow money. We'll pay lower rates, but we'll pay them for many, many, many years, probably 10, 20 years. And our taxes will go up in the meantime as well, because the bond issue won't cover all the needs of the town, for example, and all the needs for the school, for example. It will cover a lot of the needs for the town and a lot of the needs for the school. There'll be plenty left for the taxpayers to pay. So we all got to work together. Now, at this meeting, besides accepting the application and setting the date of October 24th for the public hearing, they also had a presentation and a paper handed out by Stephen Sadlowski, the land use director, planning director for our town and city, asking for a few more changes to be made to the P&Z regulations that are going to be presented at the public hearing. That's on Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, at the Pearson Middle School down in the center of Winston. Please try to get there on Tuesday night, the 20th of September. And next week we'll talk a bit about what happened at the public hearing. But I don't want to record another program this week. I got too much else to do, so I'll wait and I'll talk to you next week. You'll probably read about it in the papers too. And I will send out some information to my list right after the meeting. But anyway, he named 4 or 5, I can't remember exactly how many changes he would like to see. They're all pretty beneficial, all pretty simple. Nobody is really against any of them. Some of the commissioners even backpedaled a little on their statements they made in the last regular P&Z meeting that I broadcast for you, voice only. So you'll hear Steve talk about those tonight, and you'll hear their response. Now, I didn't put on the program tonight the person that spoke about the roadways, driveways for the new Route 44 Henny Penny gas station and convenience store, because that's over. That's happened. They got their approval. The time to speak up is before that happens. And most people don't pay any attention to it, and they speak up too late. They don't get a word in. And like they say on the program tonight, well, it's over now. Too late. Can't do anything about it. Maybe you can change it down the road some way. That kind of thing, and I'm just paraphrasing. You'll hear the wording tonight on this program. So, if you have time, listen to the rest of the program while you're calling all your friends, relatives, neighbors, fellow citizens, property owners. Even, by the way, when I talk to people downtown, I say, why aren't you interested in all this stuff on the new P&Z regs? And they say, well, if it raises the taxes, we just pass that on to the renters. The renters are going to have to pay more. So if you got a lot of renters in town, they're all going to be impacted by this. Because many, not all, but most of the property owners, whenever the taxes are raised, they pass them on to the renters. Or they do less work maintaining their own property, like not painting it, not fixing broken windows, all that kind of thing. So anyway, now I'm going to start with the 3 parts of this program. The first part will be the acceptance of the application by the Planning and Zoning Commission at the September 12th regular P&Z meeting, with no comment from the audience by law or from the other commissioners, probably by law too, although I'm not an expert on the law. So here we go. You'll hear that. That'll last a little while. I don't know exactly how many minutes. We'll find out. Listen carefully. This is all done for your benefit.
Okay, next item on the agenda is Item C, PZC 1617, zoning regulation change. Proposal, return section 10.6 Town of Winchester zoning regulations. I suggest that we accept this and move it into the, it has to be forwarded to the Council of Elected Officials and the budding towns, so it's a time-consuming effort. But I say we should move forward to
set the hearing for 10/24.
10/24? Okay.
At the earliest, yeah.
We will set a hearing to hear this on 10/24/16. Do we have to have a motion to that effect?
You can, might as well.
Okay.
Doesn't hurt.
I'll make the motion.
Do we need a motion or not?
Yeah, you could.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
that's fine.
anyway,
Yeah,
we'll
might as well.
Seconded. All those in favor? I'm sorry, any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you.
Well, you heard that. That application is now official and supported by almost 200 residents who signed to support it. Michael Ham, former vice chairman of P&Z for many years when Tony Canavo was in charge, and they were trying to grow the grand list for the town. He will help get us through the public hearing on October 24th, should we end up needing one. Now, the next excerpt you will hear is Stephen Sadlowski, the land use director, planning director. Been here about a year or so, and he's very good. He tries to do things objectively, but he can't do it by himself. He has to coordinate everybody to try to come to the right decision, which won't always happen. When you're a project manager, you have to work with what you got, and you might not always get what you want. But you'll come close, and there is no other way to do it. So Steve's going to give it a good try. Now, he put forward a paper to the commission, and he will now discuss it with them.
I have it here. You had some further comments on the
Yeah, it's
review of the draft.
These are just some things that came up in the last week or so on the regs, which we can't actually change the regs that are going to hearing. So all these would be is things we could talk about at the hearing. We can propose or others can propose and discuss them at the hearing. If I can just go through them quickly if you want. The first one, bulk storage is not allowed in Town Gateway, and as you've just heard, we have some of that going on. So, because this property is in Town Gateway, so might be something you want to consider allowing since it's already happening. That's the first one. The second one, I've been talking with some folks about this as well, is whether or not you'd like to allow congregate, which is assisted living, which is good. There's employees and taxes for the town and brings in more folks to live, in the rural residential zone, if public water and sewer is available. And if you have any thoughts about that. Some of the larger parcels that are in the rural residential zone that have water and sewer.
Are there any? Are there any?
There's, at the very least, there's the 100-acre one up on the hill, and there's probably some others.
That have both water and sewer.
Yeah. And these, I think, in a lot of ways, they're better than the regular subdivision because a lot of times they're one building. So it's more open space, and there's, they all have employees because you have to have folks, there's usually some nurses there and cooks and cleaning, and
like
we don't have any. That's the point.
Right.
I've been chatting with somebody who might want to do something, so that's what brought it up, and it's not allowed in that zone. It's allowed in, I think, some of the downtown zones here, but there's really not much land for it in some of those zones, so something to consider. if there's any comments on that. The third one is just kind of a tweak. The way we have in the current regs and in the new regs, there's a little provision to allow decks and patios and stuff within the setbacks at Highland Lake District. But it doesn't, it basically says, you can be on this, you can't get any closer to a side yard line, or you have to be at least 9 feet or no closer than the existing building, whichever's greater on the side. And then in the back, presumably, which is the way it would be in most cases, you can't get within 20 feet of the water. But it doesn't talk at all about the front. So they could theoretically build one in the front all the way up to the front property line. That's the way it's written now.
The street side.
The street side.
Correct.
Yeah, the non-water side. So, I just proposed putting that little red in there. So it would at least have to be at least 20 feet from the lake shore retaining wall face or high water level, or the front or rear property line. Because also you could have other properties in Highland Lake across the street from the lake, not on the lake side, but on the other side of the street, where you have no lake. So then the front and the back would have no setback. So this would make them stay at least 20 feet away, which is better than the way it is now.
Yep.
The fourth one has to do with sheds, and I've got, I think, somebody here tonight that might want to endorse this, but we have a provision now where with sheds, if it's in the back, only if it's in the back setback, far back, it can be within, I think, 4 feet of the property line or something like that, I think the number is. Which is good. I propose we add language like I have here in italics, which would allow one limited in size, up to 300 square feet floor area, and less than 10 feet in height, as we define that, halfway up the roof, right, or a flat roof. May be constructed in a side or rear yard, provided it is behind the principal structure and no closer than 5 feet from the neighborhood property lines. So once you get behind the house, they could have it anywhere behind the house within 5 feet of the side or the rear property line. And it's good because people don't want sheds in the middle of their property. It kind of looks dumb. You want to put it on the side. And it's not very big, so they're not going to be really high or really big, so it shouldn't be a huge impact to neighbors. And in most neighborhoods, houses are side by side, so it would always be in the backyard.
Wasn't there a recent state legislative change on the regulation of sheds as to whether they needed to be permitted, or I remember something?
You still need a building zoning permit, but if it's under, I think, 200 square feet, if my memory serves me, you don't need a building permit anymore.
Okay. I knew there was
But
something.
you still need a zoning permit,
Okay.
yeah.
I knew there was something. Okay.
And then, of course, if
But that's if it's permanent.
That's what I was going to ask.
No, that was any shed.
well, any shed is
Any
permanent,
shed.
Yeah.
Any shed is considered permanent?
Yeah, I mean, any structure, the way the regs are written, any structure that's built on the ground needs a permit, zoning permit. It's considered a
That's
structure.
considered-
On the ground, doesn't have to be in the ground or just on the ground. I mean, 90% of these sheds that are delivered just sit on a pile of stone.
But you can even, no,
And
I
you could, in
understand
theory,
it, but some
move
of them are the plastic ones, they're 5 by 5 for garbage pails or something.
Yeah.
You need a zoning permit for that.
You're supposed to, and most people don't get them, but you're supposed to, according to the way they're written, Because, I mean, it could be plastic, it could be wood, it could be,
Yeah, you're not differentiating.
Yeah, I mean, it'd get kind of
Yeah,
hard
I understand.
to try and differentiate. And then same thing with like those hoop houses, those plastic garage things.
Right.
Some towns have had a lot of problems with those. We've got a few around, but they pop up in people's front yards and then they break and they stay there for months and years, broken and frayed, and they could be a problem. So that all falls under that same provision. 5 is just a quick tweak. Again, somebody brought up A-frames. So if the roof height is halfway up the roof, that can be pretty high.
Yeah.
So we've
14 feet.
yeah, so we've it could be a 60-foot high A-frame
No, I know.
under the existing reg. So what we've changed it, or I'm proposing to change is the midpoint of the roof section between the top floor and the roof. So it kind of makes it the same as the other standard, hip roofs or gable type roofs. 6 is just a typo. That's no big deal. 7. Side yards in rural residential is 50 feet, the way we have it set up. In most of the residential zones now are 35 feet, and I just didn't know if you wanted to keep it at 50 or if you did that for a reason, or 30, 50 feet just for side yards.
Right.
Something to think about. I noticed that. And then the last one, we talked a little bit about it yesterday, and I've talked to some other folks about this, and I think I even spoke to you about this, Craig, too, and this is one thing that I'm getting some feedback from the public on, and that's the staff-approved non-conforming structure allowance, where you could add on to the property once at 12 feet. It might, I think a lot of folks would like an ability to do more than one addition if they wanted to do it over time, or if they've already done one years ago via 10-6 or via a variance or something, that they could possibly do another one. But that it wouldn't be, my proposal would be that it wouldn't be by right like this one where it's just a zoning permit, that it would actually be once you get one shot with Mark doing a by right one, and your second, perhaps subsequent, would all be a special permit to ZBA. So ZBA would be able to review it, look at the conditions, which I cut and pasted on the next bottom of that page and the next page. They can look to make sure it fits. If it does, if it's just too much for the lot, doesn't fit, for any of those reasons, they can deny it. Unlike our old 10-6, where we really had no way to deny it. So something that I would just propose, if you wanted to consider that.
Well, I know wasn't there a lot of discussion about that in particular? Wouldn't that be something that maybe the members of the subcommittee should probably get together and discuss?
Well, the subcommittee's kind of handed it over to you now. I don't think they're going to meet again.
But I don't think we come back and play again.
It's-
But I think after we have the public hearing, and once that has been, then these changes could be accommodated.
We'd have to have another
Right.
public hearing for these, correct?
No.
No.
You could bring these up in the public hearing, and we could discuss them, and you could add them at that point, as long as they're not really huge changes. These are, most of these changes are actually giving folks more rights, so I don't think it would
Right.
appeal them for that reason.
Okay.
If we were like taking uses away from some zones or something where there could be a lot of heartburn, we would probably want to have another hearing or something, but
I think that go public with these few gray areas where you guys want to do things that you can. Say this is what we're going to have to say yes or no instead of let's write it now.
Oh, you can't write it now anyway.
Right, well,
yeah, we can't change the regs now.
Can't change anything right now.
these tweaks.
But we could add it in public hearing.
Afterwards,
Yeah, we can bring it up at public hearing, as I'm sure, the residents are going to bring stuff up too.
Right.
So, that's the stuff I saw. A lot of this is just people are coming in and just asking, how is this going to affect me? And
Right.
start looking at it. We're like, that doesn't make any sense or whatever. So, and I'll almost guarantee after we adopt them, 6 months later, we'll be doing a couple tweaks. We're going to
Yeah,
find
but
some.
that's, I think, to be expected.
There's going to be some adjustments, but
Right.
Rome wasn't built in a day.
no.
No one's built in a day.
Okay.
But I think those are good points well taken. I really do. integrate these with, what's the presentation?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Shows.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to him about these as well, yeah.
I think you should be aware.
I think the legal aspect of everything should
Yeah, I can,
be, yeah, well, this is not to these.
these particular ones, but these are pretty minor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to send Mark the most recent version anyway, just for his records, and I'll just tell him about these few little things. I don't think there's gonna be any major issues, so,
And just a reminder, I won't be here for the next meeting.
for the first hearing, okay. That's all I have.
Steve meant to say 18 feet instead of 12 feet that he did say. And he also said that nobody can be turned down with section 10.6, which is yet to be confirmed. During this meeting, Steve was very positive. He had a lot of good things to say, and he put forward several issues that we will be happy with if they get accepted and when discussed at the public hearing and placed into the new proposed, totally rewritten planning documents. He said there were a lot of people giving him input in the town hall, coming to the town hall or calling the town hall or seeing him on his travels or whatever, and that he has responded with many positive suggestions to changing the totally rewritten proposed new planning and zoning regulations at the town hearing. As you heard him say, he can't do it now because they don't have time to advertise it all, etc. So they have to go with what they've got, and they'll bring it up at the town hearing, just like you can bring up anything you want to at the town hearing, and I can bring up anything I want to, and in fact, that's why they have the town hearing. They have the town hearing so that everybody is assured a chance to make comments on things before they become the rule of the town, city, and lakes. Now, I'm glad because it shows that all the work that you are doing to contact the town hall is paying off. They're backing down a little bit. They see reality a bit. Now, I do wish they had a better bedside manner with their people. People say he's a good doctor, but he doesn't have a good bedside manner with his patients. And they might say, oh, he's a great doctor and he's a wonderful bedside manager with his patients. I've always wanted to see these commissions and committees get out, pound the pavement, knock on doors, and ask people for feedback. Now, they'll tell you there's all kinds of laws and rules and all this kind of thing at the state and federal and local level that won't let them do that. They have to do it in a certain way. They have to do it at a certain time. They have to do it according to all these regulations that take us 15 to 20 years to get anything done. But they could have other people go around, people from their political party or people from their other associations they're in, and collect information for them. They can have their family members do it. They can have people like me and Mickey Ham do it. That's what we're doing for our friends on the lake and in the town and city. This town is your town. This town is my town. This town was made for you and me, not P and Z. trying to make sure they all understand that we have to get things done here. We have to put everybody first. Because we have more knowledge about the town and city and lakes from studying them for so many years and participating in other commissions and committees and talking to people around the lake, talking to people around town, talking to people around Winchester. We have a lot of information. We also have the skills to do that. We can talk to people. We can listen to people. We can try to understand what their problems are, and then we should try to come up with a solution to those problems for the majority of the residents in town, most of whom which are non-conforming in one way or another. Conforming means different things in different zones. Now, the difference between us, we're more like the Paul Reveres of the world. The British are coming, the British are coming. We say the P&Z is coming, the P&Z is coming. Because they're the British in this situation. They're trying to take away our rights. They don't want any development in their backyard. Now, they will profess, like you heard on the meeting tonight, the comments, that they're in favor of working with people and helping them get things done. When you hear the next clip, you'll hear that for sure. The next clip is a real bicycle shedding clip where somebody comes in because they want a shed in their backyard on a non-conforming property. And when they talk about that, everybody on the commission has something to say because it's a bicycle shedding issue. It's about a shed. And you will hear people say, what kind of siding do you think we should have on these sheds? What are they constructed of? Are they safe? Et cetera, et cetera. You'll hear some of that, not exact words as that, but some of that bicycle shedding when you listen to the next clip. Now, I'm happy to see the speaker get his shed. I'm also happy to see other people get a shed too that haven't been able to do so before. And if we take out section 10.6 without making provisions for that, then the applicant and his wife won't get their shed, nor would others. So we're going to now hear another clip, but before I do that, I want to tell you that I did receive many other anomalies from various people around town, Winchester, and the lake, in return for the anomalies I mentioned on my last program. They said, wait a minute, Brian, you forgot an anomaly. You forgot that once the town attorney said it was all right for P&Z to grant permission to 636 East Wakefield Boulevard, 2 of the 5 people on the commission voted no. The other ones voted yes, so 636 got their permission. But that's an anomaly. Why would they vote no when the town attorney told them that they could vote yes? I think they would have voted yes to help out 636, one of many, 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 many non-conforming properties on the lake in the town of Winchester and the city of Winston. So that's an anomaly nobody understands either. Now, I got plenty of other anomalies that people brought to my attention. Some of them are quite humorous. But this P&Z group has really exposed themselves here. They've quieted down in the meetings. You don't hear as much baloney as you used to hear when I first started putting these up on YouTube. They've quieted down. They have reversed their decision on a few things that they thought firmly stood for before we began our quest to get feedback, to get people to call them, to get people to try to understand how their properties would be affected by these new, totally rewritten, new proposed planning and zoning regulations that they were trying and have been trying to shove down our throats, especially the people at Highland Lake. That isn't going to happen. We are making some progress. We might make a little more before it's over. We might not win the whole game, but we sure can set a good example for the future. Now, all you shed owners around town and on Highland Lake can listen to Mr. Benedetto of 364 East Wakefield Boulevard at Highland Lake discuss his need for a shed on his property. Many people have the same need throughout the town and city. His property is now for sale.
Okay, and now item 11, we have public comment.
My name is Bruce Benedetto, I live up at Highland Lake, and I came to Steve with an issue that my wife and I had it in the plans for a couple of years now, but decided we wanted to do this now within the next 6 months to a year, and it has to do with one of the
Shed.
the mention.
I talked about.
Yeah, the shed.
One of the impotence of that, yeah.
And why it came up was because I have a long, narrow lot. I'm not sure exactly the overall length of the lot, but it's pretty long.
Hundreds of feet.
And it's narrow. It's 100 foot at the lake, and it narrows down to 60-something feet at the road. And to put a shed in, according to the sidelines, would in my backyard, which is, according to my wife, is the front yard because that's the lakeside. So, but it's behind the house. It's actually behind the house, but it's between the house and the lake. There's some 200 feet between the house and the lake, and the sidelines would bring 35 feet on each side would bring the only place to put a 10 by 14 shed would be like right smack in the middle of the lot. And we have an area that's lightly wooded and perfect place to kind of tuck that small garden shed to one side. So that's why I brought that up to Steve, and he was.
And other people have mentioned it too. Well, so he just wanted to come and just tell you a real world example.
Okay.
Yeah.
We appreciate the input.
Okay.
I think, if some of these modifications are made to it, I think it would give you a little more flexibility.
Okay.
We're not trying to restrict your use.
No, I know, and this is just.
We're only
something-
trying to make uniformity around the town.
Right.
Whether it be the Lake District, whether it be up in Pine Hill or wherever.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it's, all we're trying to do is make things better.
Okay.
Make it easier to develop, make it easier for you to do what you want to do.
Right.
But within, but also look out for neighbors and everybody
Absolutely.
else.
Absolutely.
Okay? What's
Yep.
good for one man doesn't necessarily mean it's good for the next.
Right. No, I understand.
That's what zoning's all
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
There's a good point that you brought up, Steve.
Okay. Thanks.
What are our
We can't foresee everything, yeah.
No, of course
I
not.
spent almost 8 months.
What are the new
12 months
setbacks
on this.
at?
And
Right.
we still find everything.
35 feet.
Yeah.
We didn't
Yeah.
anticipate.
Right. Exactly.
I'm sure it's going to be that way.
Yeah. No, I
There was some
I
talk,
think
but
it
then
was
they changed
a
it back.
Smart move to discuss it. Really,
Yeah.
because it brings it to
Right.
to the forefront
Right.
here.
Right. Exactly. My wife and I didn't want to do anything without checking first because that's
Well, things are looking up.
good. Good.
Well, that should be a change. We should
Well,
change
that's
that
what we're-
35-foot setback.
Yeah, but we can't now.
No, I know that,
Yeah.
because that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah,
Because
I-
some of the lots are only 50 feet wide, they got
Yeah.
a 24-foot wide house.
Right.
They were already in non-compliance.
Well, I think you be down the street. You're on the east side, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah. So you won't even see that shed from anywhere.
No.
Well, I might see it on the boat if I was in a boat.
No, you won't.
No, you won't even see it
No,
there.
if you can, Art,
The
you're
Ark
going to
saw
have
2
very good
centuries.
eyes.
Well, I sailed with Noah, my God, you
I'm
make
sure you
it.
did.
Great. Thanks for coming.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank
That's
you
good.
for coming.
Thanks for hearing me.
They like the feedback, so that's good.
You should come on the 20th.
Yes, absolutely. My wife and I are going to do that.
Proved to be quite the show.
We'll do that.
Yeah, no. You know, do you have an A2 survey?
Yeah.
Yes,
You should bring that as an example.
yeah. Okay.
Show them, that'll give your widths and your lengths.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for
Thank
coming.
you. Thanks.
Yeah. That's it. All righty.
No comment?
Well, you better round up all your friends, relatives, neighbors, etc., and get down to the Pearson Middle School band room where the public hearing will be held for the totally rewritten, proposed planning and zoning regulations that will last for many, many years. So you need to get your word in now if you want to protect your property rights and those of your neighbors, family, friends, the next generation or two, etc. Tune in next week and we'll tell you what happened at the public hearing. This town is your town. This town is my town. This town was made for you and me, not P and Z.